Today we're going to teach you how to add lights to your PC case, or really any case to that matter. You can use the same technique in an Xbox 360 or anything else you can think of. The things that we have are some flexible LED strips, which are these items right here. We have a 4-pin Molex connector, wire cutters. We have a wire here, it's 24 gauge, just some wire strippers. And we also have a hot glue gun and some hot glue sticks just to help keep the wires held down inside the case. Alright, so these LED strips can be cut every 5 centimeters. They're marked. You can see them in these copper points. So it's every 3 LEDs you can cut them. And then to add power to them, you can just solder onto the plus and the negative from a 12-volt source, and it'll be good. So what we're going to do is we're going to just measure out how much we want to add to this case. And the back side has 3M adhesive, so you don't need to glue it down or anything. And so we're going to cut this length here. We're going to take a pair of wire cutters, cut in between the copper dots. And there's our LED strip that we're going to apply right there. The LED strips come in a couple different sizes. 3528, which is what these are, and 5050. 5050 LEDs are a little bit bigger. The actual strip size is the same. They're a little bit brighter, and they also come in waterproof versions, both of them. So you can put them in aquariums and whatever else you can think of. Alright, so after we've decided the length that we want to cut off, we're actually going to go ahead and clean the surface. We didn't have these items at the beginning, but we're going to add them into the tutorial here. One of them is this is basically a rubbing alcohol. You can take a look at what we're using here. Doesn't have to be exactly that, but this will work. It gets all the dust and the oils and stuff off there, so the adhesive sticks as best as possible. Then we're just going to use like a paper towel and just dab a little bit on the paper towel. And then we're just going to wipe off the surface here. You can see. Alright, so we went ahead and peeled off the paper that was covering the adhesive on the back. And now that our alcohol is all dry, we can go ahead and stick it there.
It's really sticky.
And as he said, the adhesive on the back is really sticky, so you shouldn't.
Really good, yeah.
So you shouldn't have to worry about it. You shouldn't have to worry about it coming off after you apply it. And then just kind of make sure your wires here are pointing in the direction that you want. This is the first piece off of a reel, so it has these red and black wires already attached to it. So the next piece that we cut off isn't going to have those wires, but it's got the solder points on there. I'll zoom in here. And you can see. Alright, I'm going to zoom back out and get on the rest of the page. So we're going to go ahead and put some more LEDs over here and another set of them up here, and that should definitely light the case up plenty. These LEDs are really bright, so you won't really need any more than that, although you can use more if you want.
You want to be blinded.
So there he goes, he's putting on the third strip. And again, the strips come in 5 meter sections, or 5 centimeter sections. So you can cut them every 5 centimeters. You can order them in sections all the way up to 5 meters. Each 5 centimeter section comes with 3 LEDs, and it's all set up for 12 volts. So you don't need any additional resistors or anything like that. You just wire it up to 12 volts and it'll work perfectly. The next thing we're going to do is lay out our wiring for the rest of the case so that we can connect all the strips. Alright, so basically what we're going to do in order to connect all these is we're just going to wire them up so that they all connect like one continuous strip. We're going to connect a Molex connector to this, and then the power is going to go through here, and then it's going to connect to this strip up here, to these two spots. And then at the end of this strip, we're going to connect to this strip over here. And then the end of that strip is going to connect to this strip. And then all of our strips will have power once we connect it with the Molex connector, which will be connected to this. So we're just going to go ahead and measure them out. We're going to pretty much cut everything to the exact length so we don't have a bunch of excess of wire. Alright, so we've got all of our sections of wire cut out, and then the next thing we're going to do is just strip the ends of the wires and just prepare them all to be soldered onto the LED strips. We're just going to take our wire strippers here and strip off each section, just a little bit on each end, just enough. And there's one. So we're going to go ahead and do that to the rest of them, and then we'll come back and we'll solder them all. Alright, so what we're going to do now is just go around and attend all the solder points that we're going to be soldering the wires to. That way when we connect them, it'll just be really fast and easy. We're going to use a 30-watt soldering iron and some 6040 rosin core. Both of those things you can find in our online store, nicotronicsonline.com. So this is basically how we're going to do it. It's really easy. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that to all of the solder points on the LED strips. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is solder the wires up. We're just going to go ahead and say white is going to be our ground and blue is going to be our positive. So we're going to wire it like that throughout the entire piece. And there's one. And then there's the positive. So we're going to go around and wire them all up like that, and then all of our LED strips will be connected. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just tack these wires down with a little bit of hot glue. That way they're just not flailing all over the place inside the case. We'll keep it nice and tidy. You won't even see the wires at all once you put the case on. So just put a little bit of hot glue on there, hold it down for about 30 seconds, maybe blow on it, do whatever you feel like is necessary to cool it down. And try not to get hot glue on your finger, it really burns and it doesn't just come off, it keeps burning.
There we go.
So there's one, and we're just going to go ahead and tack down the rest of the wires. Alright, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wire this here, our power and our ground, to a 4-pin Molex connector. We're just going to splice it in. The yellow wires are 12 volt and the black wires are ground. So we're just going to use one of the, here we'll use one of these sides, it'll be easier to see. We use one of these yellows here and then the black one right next to it. And so we're just going to splice right into those. And I'm going to use the wire strippers to go ahead and split it apart so that we can just solder right on into it. So the wire stripper will just kind of pull the insulation back. As you can see there. And then we're going to go ahead and just solder these together, and then we'll be good to go after we put electrical tape or something to protect the connections. Alright, and then lastly we're going to go ahead and just cover our solder connections here with a little bit of electrical tape. I'm just going to wrap it around it so that they don't touch anything else and short out. Alright, now that we have it all taped up and the connections secure, we're just going to go ahead and test it. You can also use heat shrink tubing on it as well. It's just kind of a personal preference. This is just what we had on hand right here when we were doing the tutorial, so we just went ahead and used electrical tape, but you can use whatever you'd like. Alright, so this is the case here. We've got the 4 sets of LEDs. Each has 3 sections, so 12 sections of LEDs total, and that's what it looks like from the back. Then you go ahead and put it on a case. This is just kind of an example. This isn't the actual case that this front came off of. We'll get a photo to put up at the end. But there it is. It's lit up. It looks 10 times better in person. It looks really awesome in my opinion. And as all we did to connect it was use the Molex connector, and it was plug and play once we had it all set up. Very easy. And there it is again. There's the Molex connector. And you can't even see any of the wiring that we did behind. Not even visible when you put the case on.